I've been just staring at the screen for like 5 or 10 minutes, so I think I'm just gonna start talking. Um, I've decided that I really need to be working on my mission every day, um, and I think that means, at least right now, actually getting something out there every day, because I need that feedback or that uh, kind of instant gratification. But I, I, I think that I've become aware that it's not just a thing to accomplish like as a service to humanity, although it absolutely is, but it's also a service to myself. It's like uh, the law of circulation. It's like a major channel that can only be the giving, the outflow from this channel can only be done in a certain way, which is, you know, sharing the word about the pattern. And I will never uh, really be complete or have the momentum that I want or just have my life come together in general, um, unless I have like a continuous circular flow. And I think, ultimately that might not mean doing something that actually gets out there every day. Um, like eventually I want to write a textbook and, do more complicated things like that. And I think I'll, accrue peace and as I learn through this early process, how to listen to my heart and stuff. Like I'll grow to the point where I don't need it to be so continuous. I'll be able to trust the flow is continuing even if I'm not actively punching it out there. But right now, it's like I'm in early recovery, and I mean, I really am. Like, it's not really even a metaphor. But like they say in 12-step communities, 90 meetings in 90 days is a common recommendation. And I think it's that same sort of idea of just kind of until you get your feet, until you kind of learn to get your balance in the thing. Um, there's something about kind of trying to do it every day. So I think I had the right idea when I originally said I was going to do a video every day. But anyway, um, as you can hear, I'm not really talking about the pattern yet, although I will be. But I am experimenting with what I'm not sure if this will stick or not, but having kind of like two channels of my videos, and I was thinking I would literally just do two YouTube channels, but I just mean like have one like didactic continuous like stepping stone, gradually teaching concepts to lead up to being able to talk more about the pattern, and one channel that's uh, kind of just whatever I'm thinking about at the moment, kind of the cutting edge, like however far I have with it right now, because a lot of because I'm constantly coming up with, um, and I mean it does vary sometimes, but especially since we passed that milestone of the 11/11 date, I mean it is pretty much every day that I make some sort of breakthrough, and excuse me, if and it will continue to evolve. Not everything is a finished product. All these little breakthroughs. I mean, they're all worth something. Um, but I do think they're when I say it's not a finished product, what I mean is maybe they won't all make it into like the complete grand perfect synthesis of all of my work, if there ever is such a thing, like I mentioned, like a textbook or something comprehensive. But that doesn't mean that they're not worth getting out there and that they won't resonate with certain people. And even though my mission is very specifically at the level of humanity at large, it still counts to get through to individual people, and I think it still counts for my sanity quite a bit. Psychologically, um, I would be happier if I could either just get it out there, or better yet, start a um, start a conversation, start sort of kind of a kind of attract a group of people that can talk to me about these new ideas kind of as I have them, and have kind of a interactive kind of thing going on. So I'm kind of thinking um, there's like a base part and like a crest part, like the part that I need to just kind of methodically, taking my time, hammer it out and tailor it best to the general public. And that work is going on down here and pushing the whole thing up. But I also need to be kind of dispersing those little, I don't know, it's like a fountain, like, getting those little raindrops into the wind as well. And that's why I think of it as kind of another layer of circulation itself. And even if I am pushing at the bottom, working on those um, ideas that I'm trying to flesh out and polish and present, um, I'm skeptical, or I'm suspicious that that's not enough, and that in order to um, not feel this buildup or this blockage inside of me of having all these breakthroughs but not having them acknowledged or shared, um, I think that will lead to a lot of dysfunction, and I think it already has started to do that. Um, Dysfunction in my personal life, just kind of getting out of whack, and having addiction related issues and codependency related issues, and being some depressed sometimes, and hyper irritable sometimes, and stuff like that. So um so this is, I guess, the first video of that second channel that I'm starting, which I'm thinking I'm going to put on my original YouTube channel, the non-professional one, and see what happens. So that's definitely enough as far as like, what is this? Why am I doing it? So let me start to do it. um, so I have at this point discovered or come up with or named 5 different hands. Um, and I really think of it more like God's given me the names, but I mean, it's kind of irrelevant. I have 5 hands, and that's as many as sevenness needs to create everything else. It's not like the cap of how many hands there can be, but for kind of the pattern as it is right now, as I understand it to be, which is sevenness and below, um, that is all of them. Um, so so that's pretty cool. But so they are left, right, throughout, missed, and hempt. Um, and I guess like last week, it was a really major breakthrough for me to realize that um, left was just throughout reversed. So the left-hand path is um, sin, falling, entropic magic, magic of exchange, where the exchange costs more than the return is. Um, Also, the healthy functions, which I usually don't consider left-hand magic, but just actions of like um, standing up for yourself, being true to yourself, um, self-esteem, stuff like that, you know. Um, so it's, I guess you could say it's the self-centered path, regardless, whether it's healthy, self-centered, or unhealthy. But that's where those things come from. And then throughout, I identified kind of spring summer this year as the Christ, the pathway of the Christ. So we're talking forgiveness and being forgiven. We're talking being redeemed, restored, rescued from having fallen. We're talking rushing to offer love to everyone, but especially to the fallen. We're talking, just everything that you think of when you think Christ-like or whatever. And I realized, wow, if, like, oh, actually, I already have this written down somewhere. Good thing about these videos, I imagine, is that I don't really have to, like, have it all perfect before I record. I'm just... So it's kind of like left, right, throat, and at first you just have left and right, but then the throat gets reversed into left. So if it's like you take like a mirror image of this, it's really like leapfrog or like a slinky going downstairs. It's like this hops over left and then reassembles in the other, completely reversed. So so yeah, that was actually the breakthrough last week that made me think of doing these videos, and I don't know why it's taken me so long to actually do them. I guess I just emotions and shit. Okay, so I also discovered quite recently that there's this kind of pairing or pairwise relationship that I found in left and throat also applies to right and missed. I should write that out. Missed. It's hard. It's tricky to say because I think it's important that the Z's are voiced and the T is unvoiced, so I add like an hypothetical glottal stop, but still it's kind of unnatural for an English speaker, so it's weird. So, and then just a couple of days ago, I found the last one, or the most recent one, which is hemp, which I slightly resisted. Like, gosh, people are gonna make so many jokes about hemp being in the name, but this is what came to me. It's not like I was looking for it. I did decide though that like there's kind of criteria. Like each one has to start with a different consonant and end with a T. So each one could be identified or abbreviated by just one letter. So that's handy. Okay, so so then I'll turn the page and try something else. So I guess it was 2 days ago that I discovered after this protracted like up in my head worry, like confusion about this phenomenon I was getting that I was calling octahedral inflation, which I might talk about later. It's really not what I'm trying to talk about. But I discovered this, which is a sigil that I don't know how to I'm trying to figure out, like, who am I talking to, and like what are they going to be thinking about, and, like, do they understand how my vision works, and like do they understand what a sigil is, and shit like that. But since this is more for me, I'm just gonna keep going and try to make it more for me. So um, basically I discovered that this, as a sigil, as just this figure itself, um, represents a soul configuration or conscious configuration, which I have two names for, proto-fairy and altiorverse, which I think amounts to the same thing, or maybe it's like one is the other seen from behind. So basically, it took me another day or two to realize that these lines on the inside are the same, four spindles of a four spindle of a tetrahedral spindle, like our souls can be represented as, but like crucified, like laid out flat, um, into this cross formation, which has the main benefit of that. Well, I think there's two benefits of it. Um, Let me write down which ones are which first. At least what I think. So, left, right, throughout, midst. Um, mist. Okay. Because I don't want an hypothetical D there. I don't want it to be midst. Okay. So, bye. So, and this is the first time that I had ever realized or thought to think that the spindles of a four spindle could be assigned handedness at all, actually. But so the main reason for this is that if you spread them all out like this, then you can, perpendicular to the page, going into the page, have the fifth spindle, which I originally recognized as like the pointing of my heart, like the tangent line of my heart's desire in the present moment. But then when I guess the next day or whatever, like found hempt, I realized, well, that's where the hempt spindle goes. And that spindle would be up into fiveness. So that's why it's like a proto fiveness. So so the idea is like this configuration allows you to have right angles between like right angles inside and between all those. Also, the right angles on the outside are significant, but I'm going to leave that for another video. And then right angles with the whole plane of this. It's a sail, basically. It's a sail. Like, the whole plane of it, with hempt. So, what that means is that all of the outside, like the upper side of this, so like on the other side, facing up into the page, going toward fiveness, into fiveness, like facing the light, that is, the sunlight, like the light of the actual sun. Um, Not to say that the sun we have now isn't an actual sun, but it's like less actual. Okay. So this, you can make like a little pyramid and make it meet at the end of the hemp line. And that whole pyramid and everything inside of it would be constantly exposed to the light rather than hiding in the darkness below. Even though, thanks to 666, there is no darkness below anymore, it's only the interior darkness that we really have to worry about. But, anyway, so the other thing is, this isn't one of the two things I was going to say, but the other thing is that this square around them, keeping it like that, is important to make sure that each one is the same length, that they're equally weighted or powerful or however you want to put it. So I'm taking longer than I thought to get through this, but I think it'll still be good. Okay. But the other important point is that, so there's two changes in like the information encoded by this versus a force spindle. Basically, first of all, the angle is reduced to the interior angle of a force spindle, which I don't remember offhand. It's like 120 something degrees, a little bit more than a 3 spindle. But it's reduced from that down to a 90-degree angle. So it's kind of compressed, I guess you could say. But the benefit of that compression is great because it means that you can have equal acceleration on all points of the force spindle. So like once this thing is moving, as it is going to do along the harsh desire line or the hemp spindle line, that motion affects all parts of the force spindle, even though like in actual foreness they're spread out such that that would be impossible, you know. So this is kind of like a this is kind of a state of being, or like a logical mental it's a transformation done on the foreigner's soul to make it this. And that's it's not and I think it's abstract. Like I think it's logical, you know? Like it doesn't change the fact that your actual body is still, you know, in foreignness in the same way. At least for most people it wouldn't. Although it has for me a little bit, but that's because of my brokenness, which is, as far as I know, like a unique sort of thing. Okay, I'm putting myself out there a little more than I'm comfortable with, but I still think it's worth it. So I'm gonna keep going and say that, excuse me. Then just a little bit ago today, a couple hours ago, I came up with a new way of thinking about the relationships between the handedness as corresponding to the spindles of our souls. And so we all have either as potential or as actual this fifth spindle already. And you could also say we have it just over the course of time, if you're, you know, thinking of time as another spatial dimension which like accretes by layers or whatever, moment to moment, or by waves, I guess. So yeah, just to put that out there. I don't really know that, like, it's gonna take some explaining to talk about like the handednesses and their magics and their inherent kind of functions. But like right now, just think of what I'm talking about as being basically about the four spindles, or the five spindles that like we all already have. Um, so, and once again, if this is, I feel like I'm not really sure who I'm talking to. So if this is, over your head, just go to the other channel or ask me questions. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it. Um, yeah, let me get some good breaths in. Um, I'm just gonna stop it there. I have more thoughts about this kind of general thing, a lot more actually, but I'll separate them out into. No, 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 no. I want to get. Sorry, I I just have this one other simple thing that I just want to. So this is all of the odd numbered spindles in here. Um, that's not now. Left, felt, missed. No, not missed. That was. These two are like. I basically know nothing about hemp so far, like practically, you know. Um, and I often confuse it with mints, but I know pretty well what mist is. So anyway, so and this is right and mist. So these three, this is kind of hypothetical. Oh, we can't see it. This is kind of hypothetical. This is like theory I just came up with today, but like these are like the spokes of a wheel, and like they just rotate around and do their own thing, and like you don't really have to worry about them that much unless you're caught overusing one of them, unless they're out of balance. Um, which is most common with left, I think, because that is like um, downspin. That is addiction, sin, stuff that's really kind of inherently destructive in fourness. Um, so, and then I'm not quite sure anymore about. I had been thinking codependency was over reliance on right, but I'm kind of thinking it's more like throughout. So that could be in there too. But what I think is these two are just so these three form a chiral set. So these are in the same. These are in the relationship of the three chirality grouping that you can have in fiveness, that we can't have in fourness. Um, but I think that this is like entropic downspin. This is like eutropic um, upspin, but only upspin, I think, to the point of like restoring to wholeness, like not like actually getting higher overall. So maybe it's not really upspin. Um, I don't know, but like so downspin, upspin. This one, hemped, I think, is like. So this is like a wrong decision. This is like, and then these are talking about the magics again, or the patterns of them, not just a single use, but like this is like, you know, create something that has to be redeemed by this. Um, this one I think is just a decision, basically, like a decision that like you might get all up in your head about, like I am right now about going to Thanksgiving and blah blah blah. But in the end, it's a neutral decision as far as um, when it all plays out. Like there might be emotions, there might be consequences, but like on net, it's a neutral decision, and so it's not something that should be really deliberated. So that is like spinning, and this um, right is giving to the world, to fourness. Um, right is like service, if I had to sum it up in a single word. But it's service and it's harmony with God as we have learned to communicate with God, or like working with God as we have learned to work with God in fourness, as we can perceive and work with God in fourness. Um, Mist is kind of on the other side of right. It's like, so this is facing fourness. This is facing upward. This is facing capital up, upward. Capital up, capital U, capital UP. So yeah, capital up. Capital upward, towards fiveness, towards sixness, towards sevenness. Um, so this is like, I think of as like how I learn about the pattern. It's receiving from above, but they work in tandem as well. I mean, they're like a channel, that round channel that I was sort of talking about, where it's not just about receiving it; it's about receiving it, transforming it, sharing it, turning it over. Um, Also, I found that this is about positive change within time, positive change, outside of eternity, within time as we have it here. Mist would be um, like invariant over time. Like I think that the transformation that took place in me when I'm not sure about when I discovered the pattern. Probably that too, but like definitely my brokenness was an act of mist magic. Mist. Um, so like it's a transformation that can affect form or structure or content or understanding significantly, but without respect to time. And that's also kind of theoretical. Like most of this stuff is theoretical. That's kind of what I was trying to get at in introducing this channel. So I might have just spent too much time talking. But that's pretty much what I have now. So there you go. I'm sticking to it. Good night.